remind you to ensure mobile phones and other devices are on silent, that banners, etc. are not permitted and members of the public are not allowed to address the meeting, to use the microphones when addressing the meeting, and that you may be filmed or recorded during the meeting. Thank you. Please be upstanding for your chairman.
As we work through the agenda today, take this moment to thank God for the opportunity to serve the people of this county. May his Spirit move freely among us, guiding us with his light, so that we may be the leaders that we are called to be. We pray that he will help us to listen with understanding, to speak with clarity, with charity, and with restraint. May he help us to see the humanity and dignity of those who may disagree with us today, and may we treat each other with reverence and with respect. May we be filled with the strength of his presence and the joy of helping to build up a county worthy of the human person. And we ask this in the Lord's name. Amen.
Amen.
Enjoy your meeting.
Members, before we start the meeting, we are all aware of the announcement that our Chief Executive, Anthony May, will be leaving us towards the end of the year to take up a post at the hospital. And I know we'll all want to say things about him and wish him well, but he will be at the next full council meeting, and we will be bringing a report to that meeting. So please save your comments and good wishes for that meeting. Right, this is where I say something. Do I sit or stand? Right. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. It's the annual changeover. And I'd just like to say a few words about my year in office. And I may have a couple of amusing anecdotes, but I don't know whether time will allow. I've been told to keep it brief. It's certainly been an interesting one, what with COVID at the beginning and the AGM being held at the hotel in the university grounds, no rehearsals or anything like we had yesterday. So it was no guests, and it was quite a subdued event, as was the annual civic service. But it's been an interesting year, and I know that Wendy has enjoyed it as well. Particularly, she's been particularly helpful with the events we've had with young children and the school visits, and When You Wish Upon a Star, all the young children that were involved in that. And hopefully we're going to be able to grant some wishes this year. I've had a photograph taken this morning with the cheque of the fund as it stands, which is over £6,400. And there's quite a bit of gift aid to come to add to that. So I'm hoping that we're going to be closer to 7,000 than 6,000 when we finish. So I think that's been a great effort, and thanks to all that contributed and helped me raise the money. During the year, we had 2 royal visits. One was the Duke of Gloucester. Unfortunately, spouses were not invited to either one, so Wendy didn't have the luxury of being presented to royalty. But it was certainly interesting. The second one was Princess Alexandra, and we visited Stamford Hall Veterans Rehabilitation Centre, which was an eye-opener, and I really enjoyed that visit. But I did cause quite a bit of a stir while I was there. When I got out of the car, I saw how far it was to the hall, so I decided to carry the chain in the box, and was met by a young female naval officer who said, "Can I take the box for you, sir?" So I said, "Certainly, I'll take the chain out and put the chain on." So she disappeared down this corridor, put the box down in somebody's office, and put her phone on top of it. The next minute, somebody was rushing about saying they thought there was a bomb in the office. Fortunately, the person concerned rang the phone because it was her superior, and the phone on the top of the box rang. So she then calmed down a bit, and everything was subdued, because obviously the Lord Lieutenant was there and royalty there. We wouldn't want to have had to evacuate the building. That would have been a bit too much. And we visited one of the schools in Rushcliffe, and the young children thought that Wendy was the Queen. So that was another. She is. And they even sat her in a little throne in the library, which was quite amusing. But really, I don't want to say too much about my year, because we're here today for Roger. It's his year starting. But I have got a few people that I want to thank, and not least of all my chaplain, Canon Malachi, who's had to go. The bishop calls. When the bishop calls, you move. And of course, my wife, who has been a stalwart throughout the year and has made a lot of friends. We've made some tremendous friends throughout the year, not just amongst the chain gang, but amongst a lot of places that we've visited, some of whom actually want us to go back again. But that'll be a first. I'm usually told not to bother. But I would normally present a gift both to Wendy and Canon Malachi at this point, but they've both very kindly refused to have a gift, and the money that they would have been spent on them, they donated to my charity. So both the Canon and Wendy have donated their gift to the charity, and a cheque's been drawn up and put into the charity funds. But she can't get away with it, because I'm going to have to give her a thank you card. So, Wendy, if you'd like to come up, and I'll present you with a card. Not much else, but...
He usually brings last year's out. I think it's been going now for about 50-odd years. Well, let me tell you, his
has. We'll send Canon Malachi his card on. He's always rushing off to do something. But I can't end my year without thanking the members of staff in the Civic Office who have supported Wendy and I throughout the year. And I have a little gift for Sarah, for Laura, if they would like to come up, and for Keith as well. Some people don't know this, but I found out by accident that Keith is actually a DJ and does gigs. So that's a giveaway that he likes music. So Keith, I've got a token here for you to buy some music to remember your year spent with the Mad Quigleys. Right. Okay. Let's get the right one. Let's get the right one. Do as I'm told. Sarah. There's some little knickknacks. There's a bit of jewellery in there that hopefully will remind you of us. It's a Celtic symbol, the Tree of Life, which is all about long life, intelligence, and all the rest of it.
I need lots
so
of that.
Read it up. But thank you for all your support.
Okay, thank you.
And the same for you, Laura.
Thank you.
A different bit of jewellery, so you don't wear earrings.
That's fine, thank you.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you. I usually lose them. Right, that's my bit out of the way then. So, can I ask for nominations for the chairman of the County Council until the annual meeting in 2023? Councillor Lawton.
Thank you very much, outgoing chairman. It's been a very good year, and I've really enjoyed you at our helm. It gives me great pleasure to move that Roger Jackson, Councillor Roger Jackson, be elected as chairman of the council. I've known Roger for many years. Used to play rugby with him at Southall Rugby Club. I used to play for the seconds, he used to play for the first as a fullback. He was actually quite half decent, actually, a good player. And so I've had many an evening out with him in Southall and the surrounding areas, and I've known him for a number of years. I did mention it at the last time I spoke when I was proposing him for vice chairman, but he took over from me in Southall as the county councillor for Southall, and increased my majority, or his majority, quite substantially as well. So he is a consummate politician, and he does a really good job for the Loudham and Southall division. It's normally the ladies' pleasure to show off her wardrobe, but we'll have to watch Roger's wardrobe, which will always impress us during the year.
What are you trying to say?
It actually gives me more pleasure to do this for Jilly, actually. I know where she is. She's around somewhere.
She's up there.
She's up there. Really? You know, over the last couple of years, the family has had to deal with a lot of adversity, and it's a measure of the individual watching how they deal with that situation. And I can assure you, Jilly comes up trumps every time. And so it really gives me more pleasure presenting Roger to you as the chairman of the county council, because we'll see Jilly for a year and have the pleasure of her company. In fact, it's the second, in inverted commas, first lady in a row that I really admire, and the other one is sat behind us. To say that Roger is steeped in his community is an understatement, really. His family have been involved in Southall playing match for many years. His dad used to supply the beef for the Southall playing match dinner every year, and I knew his dad, and his dad was chairman of New York and Sherwood District Council, actually. So Roger has gone one better than his dad, who's sadly no longer with us. He also is very heavily involved in the Nottinghamshire show, and is chairman of the committee which effectively runs the show. I don't know how long he's going to carry on with that responsibility, but with it goes an enormous amount of responsibility and pressure, and it is to his credit, actually, that the Nottinghamshire show is going ahead this year for the first time in 2 years, and it is in a healthy state. And if you talk to him about it, he is more than happy to tell you how they have managed it, which is quite some feat, really. And not only for the Nottinghamshire show, but also for the people of Nottinghamshire as well, to be able to go and celebrate all things that happen in Nottinghamshire, and also become involved within the agricultural industry. Talking about agricultural industry, I'd just like to point out that there's a real disaster on the horizon. He stopped doing Christmas turkeys, and so as a result, I've got nowhere to buy my Christmas turkey for next year, and I'm really disappointed in the fact that he's no longer supplying the local people with the turkey. So there's me and Penny Rainbow, who's one of the district councillors in Southall, who are not best pleased with that decision. So it gives me great pleasure, really great pleasure, to nominate Roger as our chairman. He'll do a great job. He knows how to operate, and he knows the way to behave and the way to sell Nottinghamshire County Council across the whole of the county on our behalf. And so in this civic year, it gives me great pleasure to nominate Roger as your next chairman. Thank you.
Have we a seconder? Councillor Saddington.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, firstly to you, Mike, a successful and busy year, well done. Not in the easiest of circumstances, as you've already alluded to. To see Wendy here again over the last 12 months has been a true delight. It's been like old times, and she brings the fun with her. So it's been lovely to see you both. I'm sorry that I missed your Thanksgiving service. I was actually undertaking a civic engagement in Newark, and at lunchtime I will hand you some money to put towards your When You Wish Upon a Star. I fully support that charity, and I'd like to be a part of giving you something towards it. Well, it gives me great pleasure to second the nomination for Roger as Chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council for the ensuing year. I've known Roger for some time, and before that, I knew his father Frank, who was at Newark and Sherwood District Council, and we had lots of fun with him too. And he was a long-standing member, but sadly is no longer with us. I know Roger will be a wonderful ambassador for the county. He will represent this council and the residents of Nottinghamshire with aplomb. And assuming that we are all going to support his nomination, I wish you and Gilly, Roger, the very best year you could possibly wish for.
Are there any other nominations? No? Can I put the motion to the vote? All those in favour? That is clearly unanimous. I therefore declare that Roger Jackson has been elected Chairman of the County Council until the annual meeting in 2023, and I would just like to add my support. Roger and Gilly have seconded for me when I've not been able to make events, and I know they'll make an admirable chairman in the coming year.
Take those up.
Thank you very much. Oh, so if you move to your seat, Jim. Okay. And move your chain. Thank you, colleagues. I shall now invite Councillor Roger Jackson to make his declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Roger James Jackson, having been appointed to the office of Chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council, hereby declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability.
Make sure I give you the right chain. Okay, thank you. Okay. I don't think we do that anymore, do we, if I'm honest?
Thank you, members. Firstly, thank you, Mike, and congratulations. Well, we've got Mike and Wendy, but it was a real pleasure working with you as your vice chairman and meeting Wendy, who is a tremendous lady. I know her and Gilly got on really, really well, and we wish you all the best and hope to see you at many other occasions and functions in the future. But firstly, I'd like to thank Bruce for my nomination. I'm not sure whether he's nominating me or Gilly, but I'm probably just here to chair the meetings, and Gilly's going to do the civic roles. But anyway, thank you for my nomination, Bruce, and also to Sue. I've known you both a long time, in fact, all the way through my political career. You know, and sitting here waiting for Bruce to give my nominations, it's a bit like the best man waiting for waiting for the best man's speech at your wedding, but you're not quite sure what's going to happen, what's going to come out. But thank you both anyway for your kind words. This is a great honour that you give me, members, and I feel very privileged to be standing here on this dais as chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council, something I never envisaged in doing when I first became a county councillor. I am a Nottinghamshire boy through and through, having lived at the family farm in Godleston all of my life. In fact, my family came to Godleston in 1927, which is just shy of 100 years. With both my parents and grandparents being Nottingham-born people, with links to Clifton, Eastleigh and Oxton. I went to school at the local Loudon CVE school and then to Cartley Willers Grammar School, followed with study at the Notts College of Agriculture at Brackenhurst near Southall. So as you can see, I've not been very far from Nottinghamshire over my young life, or in all my life. And the only time I really left for any time was to go and work on farms in New Zealand back in 1977-78, working my passage on board a container ship. I'm not sure if I'm the first farmer to become chairman of the county council, but I'm certainly the first to be chairman of the Nottinghamshire County Show at the same time. And I do hope to see many members there this Saturday to celebrate all the best things that rural Nottingham has to offer and see and sample some of the local food that the county of Nottinghamshire has to offer in what will be a great day out for all the family. And it is also the first official county event to start the celebrations of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I would like to thank Frances Finn for agreeing to be my chaplain and look forward to working with her over the next year and see her at many different events throughout the year. Thank you very much, Frances. The fundraising cause I have chosen for this year will be the Nottingham branch of the Association of Ukrainians in Great Britain, which is based in the Ukraine Cultural Centre in Nottingham, which has been established for many years. As Nottingham, we have a large community of Ukrainians living throughout the county. And this has acted as the first point of contact for many of the hosts and guests arriving in Nottinghamshire at the moment. And thanks to the generosity of many Nottinghamshire families, we now have many Ukrainian guests living in our homes. I believe it's nearly up to 800 guests so far, and I'm sure there are many more families will be arriving soon who need our support, our help, to allow them to adjust and adapt to living over here in Nottinghamshire and England. The centre also provides a sanctuary for them to meet fellow Ukrainians and also learn about the culture of their home country. When ready, hopefully, they will be able to return to safely in the not too distant future. I would like to welcome Lena and her guest from the centre here today, and maybe at a future council meeting they could give us a short address of the work that they're doing with the guests that we're welcoming to Nottinghamshire. As I have said earlier, I have lived in Nottinghamshire all my life, but there are still some places in the county I am not too familiar with, so I am looking forward to members inviting me and Gilly to visit their regions, to meet their constituents and show me around. Thank you very much, members. Can I ask Ben Bradley MP to move that Councillor Mike Quigley, MBE, be thanked for his work as chairman of the council during the last year and be presented with his chairman's badge?
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Can I welcome you to your role, first of all? I know that you'll give it your all. I think I'm trying to work out when we first met this morning, and it's nearly a decade ago, can you believe? Checking around the outskirts of Loudon, trying to find your bloody farm and drop some leaflets off as a campaign manager back in the day. But over the course of that time, I know that decisions about turkeys aside, you have the right character and the right experience to be able to fulfil the role. So congratulations to you, and it will only expand on the role you already play in our communities, which is already huge. So congratulations. And can I say congratulations also on your choice of charity, which is very much of the moment and hugely important as we work with them also as a county council to try and support those families who are coming here. And your contribution to that, I'm sure, will help enormously. I hope we're able to keep today's meeting short enough that you're able to celebrate with your family later on. I rise, though, Mr Chairman, to thank the outgoing Chairman, Councillor Quigley, for his work over the past 12 months. I think it's fair to say he's presided over a much better atmosphere, actually, and a much better environment in these meetings, for the most part, than we've seen, certainly during my time as a councillor. And I'd like to think that that's because the administration is getting everything right, so these meetings are very easy. But I imagine it also has something to do with the firm but fair way that Councillor Quigley has handled these proceedings. He's been an excellent chairman in this chamber from that perspective. It's been a pleasure, of course, to have Wendy back in our lives, wherever she's gone. Up there. She's there. Look. Hello, Wendy. For the last 12 months. And I hope she won't disappear now that Mike's term has ended. I'm sure that she won't. Not least because she may be able to protect your bank balance, Mr Chairman, with some kind of loan scheme for any hats that Gilly may require. So there's definitely that opportunity to save yourself a bit of cash over the course of the year. But it's been a pleasure to have you here, Wendy, and you've been of huge support to Mike throughout this year as well, so thank you. And as I said, I hope you don't plan to disappear. You can't get away that easily. She's definitely not going anywhere, is she? Good. It's been a hugely successful year in the civic side of the role too. And again, Councillor Quigley's done this council proud in the way that he's represented us. Clearly learned from his year as Vice Chair and made changes where needed, like remembering to wear shoes for civic occasions, even when they're on Teams, because we can still see. And we figured that one out this year. Even when those are virtual. But Mike, you've handled your engagements with good grace, with gravitas, and you've been an excellent example to follow during your year as chairman. I'm sure that Councillor Jackson will have learned a lot from his experience in supporting you. And the whole council has contributed to your success too, mainly through the financial donations to your charity every time somebody's phone goes off in one of these meetings, which has probably raised a fortune. But When You Wish Upon a Star is a fantastic cause. Supporting sick children will have benefited greatly from your work and efforts over the course of this year. And I'm certainly grateful for that. I'm sure that they are too. So during your year as chairman, you've shown very clearly why you are so deserving of your MBE for services to local charities, to our community. I'm very grateful for all of your work and efforts. So on behalf of the council, thank you very much for your time, your energy, and your commitment to the role. And we look forward to continue to working with you in your new position in the administration. But very much deserving of the honour and of the badge of office and of all the long-term and ongoing commitment and energy that you will continue to bring to the council. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm delighted to second the motion. But first, may I congratulate you on your appointment, and we look forward to your year in the chair. It gives me great pleasure to second the motion to thank Mike Quigley for his role during the last year. He stepped in at a very difficult time, post-election, and we needed a chairman at short notice. And in fairness, when we looked around the group, there really was only one strong candidate at that time, a person with the experience of having chaired many meetings and other organisations, a former leader of Bassetlaw District Council, a current chairman of a large multi-academy trust, and somebody that we trusted to have a safe pair of hands sat in that chair in front of us, and Mike certainly did not let us down. I think he's had an excellent year in the chair. As the leader has already alluded to, firm but fair. He has conducted himself admirably, always supported, of course, by Wendy. I'm delighted to be able to second the motion, Mike, And just as an aside, I did have a call this morning from the Palace who wished to say that they were very disappointed that royalty didn't have the luxury of being presented to the inimitable Mrs. Quigley. I pass on their compliments. Mike, thank you very much. Delighted to second the motion, and I look forward to working with you now back in the administration. Thank you.
Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations on your new post. The rise of the farmers. I'm happy to see that. So I'd like to take the opportunity to thank Councillor Quigley for all his attendances at Ashfield District Council civic events over the last year. Our current chairman, Councillor Hankin, and his good lady wife have enjoyed yourself and Wendy's company on many occasions, and you have shown up to every event, and you've always been a pleasure to have in Ashfield, and thank you very much for your attendance at all our events in the last year. Thank you. And of course, Roger, will be inviting you in the coming 12 months. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Dodley.
Well, thank you, Chair. I concur with what Councillor Martin's just said. As many people have said by naming Wendy, we knew that with Mike we got two for the price of one. And Wendy's been an enormous ambassador in the visits around the county. And we might not have always agreed in this chamber, but as Councillor Martin said, the things you've done civically around the districts, particularly in Ashfield, I want to thank you for. You've been a huge supporter to all those civic events. I know particularly people from the Merchant Navy Association wanted to thank you because they were really pleased that someone from County Hall had come. It was one of the first times that had happened, and all of our even recent events where you expressed great generosity. So on behalf of the Independent Alliance, thank you very much for your year.
Councillor Fall.
Thank you very much. I'd just like to thank Councillor Quigley. Clearly you've been working very hard, both in and outside the chamber, and I think you've conducted affairs in here, I think people have said before, firmly and fairly, and clearly your wife's brought a completely different dimension to the role too, which I think has been great. Thank you for that. And congratulations to our new chair, and I hope you have a good year. And picking the Ukrainian Cultural Centre as your fundraising is just absolutely brilliant. Thank you very much. I had the privilege of visiting there a couple of weeks ago, and the work they're doing is absolutely awesome. So we'll be absolutely behind you on that one. So thank you very much, and good luck.
Councillor Pringle.
Thanks, Chairman, and obviously wish to thank Mike for chairing what has been some difficult meetings in here, and you know, you've handled them fantastically. But more to the point, your wife Wendy has been fabulous. Yeah, she has been a shining appointment by this council, to be quite honest, over the last year. So it's been a pleasure. Well done. Pleasure to meet Wendy. Roger, congratulations on your position. Fantastic chair to follow. Wish you all the best.
Thank you. Councillor Girling.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I think it'd be remiss of me not to say something, actually, of how wonderful Wendy's been during this last civic year. I mean, she lights the room up when she walks in. Oh, and by the way, well done, Mike, as well. But there's one downside to this civic year. I've gone from being her #1 man to one of her #1 men, which I'm not very happy about, and I've expressed my displeasure to her. But in a serious note, they are. When they do walk into a room, both of you light it up, and you've been an absolute fantastic ambassador for Nottinghamshire. And thank you for all that you've both done. Thank you.
Councillor Fielding.
Thank you and congratulations, Chairman, and I wish you well in your ensuing year. I want to thank both Mike and Wendy on behalf of the Royal British Legion for their hosting of the 100 years of celebrations here at County Hall. We truly appreciate your ongoing support for the Royal British Legion, and we were truly honoured that you did that for us. Thank you.
If there are no more speakers, I will put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I invite Mike to come and receive his badge, please? I now call upon Councillor Tracy Taylor to move the appointment of Councillor John Ogle as Vice Chairman of the County Council for the ensuing year.
Thank you, Chairman, and can I begin by congratulating you on your appointment. I'm sure you and Gilly will have a fantastic year, and also just to thank Mike and Wendy for their year of service. Couldn't miss that, could I? It's my pleasure to nominate Councillor John Ogle as Vice Chairman. As County Councillor for the Tuxford Division, John serves the residents of the area in which he was born, raised, works and has raised his own family. In short, he's at home. John's a farmer. Interesting year this year for our Chairman and Vice Chairman. John's a farmer who is a proud steward of the land. He's involved in both food production and solar and wind electricity to support both the farm business and the grid. His commitment to the environment has been recognised through several award successes, including Farming and Wildlife Advisory Group and the Wilkinson's Farm and Wildlife Awards. John is a strong advocate for the 22 parish councils in his divisional area, and he also supports his communities at parish forums and police liaison meetings. He knows every street and lane in his patch, and he's visited every house. And from someone who's campaigned with him and got lost, I can vouch for that. John's been a Bassetlaw District Councillor since 2003 and a Nottinghamshire County Councillor since 2013, serving on or chairing committees at both authorities. He's also served in voluntary roles, such as the local Village Hall Committee and as Chairman of Bassetlaw Conservative Association. He has a wide-ranging interests, including clay pigeon shooting, although I'm not sure there'll be much time for relaxing this year, John. John will be an excellent ambassador for Nottinghamshire, and I'm proud to be able to nominate him to the role of Vice Chairman for the forthcoming year.
Thank you. To have a seconder for that motion, please. Councillor Clark.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Chairman, and I also congratulate you on your election to be Chairman, and I'm sure you'll have an excellent year. And I'm wearing my showground member's tie in support of you and the county show on Saturday. So congratulations and the best of luck to both you and Gilly for, I'm sure, will be a great year to you. But I do rise to second Councillor Taylor's motion in support of Councillor John Ogle to be Vice Chairman for this year. I'm delighted and it's much pleasure that I do so. I have worked closely with Councillor Ogle over this last year in his role as Vice Chairman of the Transport Committee. He's shown how focused, enthusiastic and conscientious he is, and I'm sure he will continue to use those qualities as an ambassador on behalf of the County Council in performing those duties. I wish him well in supporting you as Chairman for this ensuing year. Thank you very much indeed.
Are there any further nominations? If not, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. That's carried unanimously. And I declare that Councillor John Ogle has duly been appointed Vice Chairman of the County Council. Please come to the dais to make your declaration of an acceptance of office.
Okay, colleagues, I shall invite Councillor John Ogle to make his declaration of acceptance of office.
Good morning. I, John William Ogle, having been appointed to the office of Vice Chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council, hereby declare that I take that office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties of it according to the best of my judgment and ability. Thank you for that. Thank you for Tracy for opposing me, Neil for seconding my nomination. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to represent you, fellow councillors of Nottinghamshire County Council. Thank you for your confidence in electing me as your Vice Chairman of this council. I'm also delighted to represent the communities and people of Nottinghamshire in this capacity, and I look forward to working with officers in the Civic Department. Welcome to my guests, in fact welcome to all. Among my guests is Jeff Rickles. Jeff was a district councillor and still is the longest continual serving district councillor in the country. He retired several years ago, but is still the longest serving district councillor. What an achievement. And may I congratulate you, Mr. Chairman. May you and your wife, Gilly, have a happy and successful year in your capacity as Chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council. Congratulations to Roger, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, members. New team at the top. Now we move on to a bit more of the business. Item 3, election of leader of the council until May 2025? 2023, because it says 2025 on here. Oh, it is 20, yeah. And I call upon Councillor Bruce Lawton to move the appointment of Councillor Ben Bradley, MP, as leader of the council until the annual meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and congratulate you on your election as Chairman of Nottinghamshire County Council. I would like to move the appointment of Councillor Ben Bradley, MP, as leader of the council until the annual meeting 2025. Thank you.
Seconder for the motion.
Yes, sir, I second the motion before us, Mr. Chairman. Councillor Bradley, I think, has proved over the last year that he is the right man for the right job at the right time. And I never cease to be amazed at his ability to transition between his different roles as a Member of Parliament for Mansfield, as the leader of this council, and of course as a divisional member. He performs those roles with great commitment and ability. And I'm delighted to second the motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any other nominations? If not, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Make it count.
Are you voting, Chairman?
Any will be against? Abstentions?
Sorry, sorry. Yes, I did count.
24. Do I nice the numbers? Yep. Yeah.
None against.
No. With 35 votes for and 24 abstentions, I declare that Councillor Ben Bradley, MP, has duly been appointed as leader of the Council until the annual meeting of 2025. Councillor Bradley, you may address the Chamber.
Thank you, Chairman. I speak only very briefly just to thank colleagues within the group for their continued support at our AGM yesterday, for the kind words that have been said by Councillor Barnfather. Councillor Lawton forgot to say kind words.
No.
I'm only joking. Look, I think we've made great progress over the course of this year. I think there were lots of questions at the beginning of this term about whether it was the right thing to take on this role. There are lots of questions that I have tried to answer over the course of the last 12 months, and I hope I've done a reasonable job of putting some of those concerns to bed. I think we've made progress in a lot of areas and had opportunities that have come from that joint position that we would not otherwise have had. Really grateful to the leadership team, Cabinet and all of our group for the hard work that they have put in. Grateful very much to the senior leadership team, not least Anthony, who we will say very nice things about at the next meeting rather than today, but hugely grateful for the time and energy that you have put in, Anthony, in supporting me and the administration over the last 12 months to get things done. We've moved to a cabinet system that we will introduce from today. A huge amount of time and effort gone into that. I think that will be a far better system. We've improved and are working on improving our engagement and our communication with residents that I think from an internal perspective within this council will be much better than has been before. From a service perspective, our children's transformation programme is coming on in leaps and bounds and will make a huge difference to people's lives with that. Our highways review has been completed and we're working hard over the long term to make things better for residents. Looking externally, which I think is where perhaps I can make the most difference with that joint role. We've delivered an integrated rail plan that was much better than it would otherwise have been and will bring billions of pounds to our area. We are pretty confident now that we will negotiate a devolution deal with government this year that will bring us a huge amount more clout and funding for our region. Our Development Corporation has achieved the match funding that it has desired and we found out yesterday will be in the legislation, the Levelling Up Bill, coming forward in this session of Parliament. And we are making huge progress in our bid for Step Fusion. We are, I think, among the front runners in that project. So huge opportunities that we hope to continue to work on over the course of this year. We hope to be able to finalise and deliver some of those projects. Lots to work for. So again, grateful for all of your support and for all your time and effort. A long way still to go. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Move on to item 4. Please note that the numbering of the reports in the agenda pack goes slightly out of sync with the agenda or the number. So this is agenda item 4, is not 3. And I'd like to call upon Councillor Chris Barnfather, who will introduce the report, please.
Thank
Move the
you.
recommendations.
Thank you, Chairman. The Constitution requires the membership of political groups of this council, their leader, deputy leader and business managers to be noted at the annual meeting of the council. The report is self-explanatory. I'm quite happy to take any questions should there be any, but I move the recommendations as on page 8 of the bundle, that the membership of the political groups be recognised and that the officers of the groups be noted. Thank you, Chairman.
Call upon Councillor Lawton, who will second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion and like to thank Chris Barnfather for dropping me in it. I will actually say something now. I've been working with Ben now for 12 months, and as a leader, he is truly impressive. And I mean that, and I've said it on many, many occasions. His ability to be able to manage and deal with the intricate, complex subjects which are coming across his desk is second to none. It was me that proposed him and Chris that seconded him for his position. And I've got really one comment: we made the right decision. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any members? Thank you, gentlemen. Any members wish to speak? If not, I'll ask Councillor Barnfather who wants to say anything more. Thank you. And I'll put the motion to the council. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 5 is to ask the Council to approve the minutes of the last meeting, subject to a minor amendment to include the attendance of Nigel Stevenson. All those agreed? All in favour? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Agenda item 6, minutes of last meetings of committees not continuing for approval by full council. So to ask the chairman, to ask the council approve the minutes of the last meetings of the committees which are not continuing, including the minutes included in the addendum. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. Are there any apologies for absence?
No apologies from the administration, Chairman.
Chairman, we have apologies for absence from Councillor Nigel Turner that have been received.
Okay, Councillor Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I take this opportunity to thank our outgoing chairman and Wendy? Thank you very much. And also to congratulate you, Chairman and your Vice Chairman, on your election. I wish you all the very best going forward. We've got 4 apologies. Apologies from Councillor Glenn Guilfoyle, Councillor Penny Gorlan for personal reasons. Councillor John Clark has a medical appointment and he'll be late this morning. And Councillor Michael Payne is unwell. Thank you.
Councillor Deakin.
Thank you, Chair, and just to echo congratulations to you and look forward to the year to come, and no apologies from our group today. Thank you.
Declarations of interest. If any councillor or officer has either a disclosable pecuniary interest or a private interest in any matter on the agenda, you should declare it now. Please raise your hand now if you have an interest to declare. When called to speak, you should state whether it is a disclosable pecuniary interest or private interest and give brief details. Anybody have any interests? No. Okay. Item 9, Chairman's business. Well, it's my first day in the job, as they say. I have not really an awful lot to say to you until, but I am really looking forward to my year in office. And as I said in my address, I really want to come out and visit members and their wards and regions. And yeah, Boyd wants to invite me to his pubs, I think. But but yeah, I'm really looking forward to coming out and seeing members in their constituencies. Lunch will be taken, well, we'll see how the meeting goes at my discretion. We hope to get most of the business done and then probably have lunch at the end of all business, but we'll play that as we go along, as we go through the morning's business. Okay. We move on to item 10, constituency issues. This item gives members who have previously given notice by the deadline the opportunity to speak up to 3 minutes on any particular matter relevant to their constituencies or on any particular issue arising in their electoral division, which is relevant to the services provided by the County Council. This is an opportunity simple to air these issues in the Council meeting. It will not give rise to a debate on the issue or a question and answer session. Members are reminded that there is a maximum time limit of 15 minutes for this item on the agenda, and each member may only speak for a maximum of 3 minutes. Can I call upon Councillor Neil Clark, please?
Thank you very much, Chairman. And I know you mentioned top team when you introduced yourself, and of course you now have a farming duo in the top team of the council. So well done for that. I rise to talk specifically about a constituency matter affecting the community of Newton. Newton evolved as a result of the closure of the RAF Newton Air Base many years ago now, and it consists of 3 elements which have joined together to form that community. The old original village, then the houses that were built for the RAF personnel, which has subsequently been sold into private occupation, and then a large number of new houses which are now have been built and are being built to comprise a now very large community. I have had detailed conversations already with officers and with the chairman and vice chairman of the Children's and Young People's Committee, but the planning permissions for the new houses include Section 106 agreements for education provision, and in particular a school to be provided on site. There will be 900 houses completed when these houses are built, and in fact there will be more in the pipeline. The land is allocated for the school, but at the moment there is no prospect of that school being built, as I am aware that explanations have been given for the need and the numbers. However, the people of Newton feel particularly aggrieved in such a large growing community that they are devoid of many facilities, and in particular that the school, a new school, would be central to those facilities. So the community is very keen to continue and to escalate their campaign to ensure that ultimately a new school is being built on site in recognition of further development that will be taking place. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Henshaw, mental health support services in his division.
Thank you. Oh, cheers. Thank you. Before I start, I'd like to thank Councillor Quigley for the brilliant job he did last year, and also to Councillor Jackson, I hope you have an excellent year without any problems. And just as an aside, if you need a tree surgeon, I can recommend Councillor Jackson's son, who did me an excellent job at a reasonable rate. So in saying that, all the best for the future and for the next year. Council, as you all know, when addressing Council about topics and issues in my division of Mansfield West, I like to be positive and to highlight the good things that are being done to help residents. This is why I want to bring to Council's attention the fantastic work that the Jigsaw Support Charity does. The Jigsaw Support Group, based in my division, is a Nottinghamshire charity providing services and support to enable vulnerable people to live a better life, a safer and happier life in their own community. Jigsaw operate throughout Mansfield and other areas of Nottinghamshire, and their dedicated staff and volunteers are fully trained to support people with a wide range of vulnerabilities and issues. They provide a food bank and hold community events. Jigsaw are there to support local people. They are one of a few organisations that help people who have a hoarding disorder. A hoarding disorder is where someone acquires an excessive number of items and stores them in a chaotic manner, usually resulting in unimaginable amounts of clutter. Jigsaw helps these people through their hoarding service, and it's very popular. They have worked with many people not only to clear clutter away, but also they help people to understand why they are hoarding, thus improving that person's quality of life. Jigsaw are currently only able to offer help to those referred to them by doctors, social workers and local councils. Mansfield District Council currently support Jigsaw, giving them 23,000 out of their homeless reduction fund. Unfortunately, Jigsaw's LCF funding application to us, Notts County Council, wasn't successful. So could I urge the leader of the council and the chair, or the portfolio holder as will be, for communities and place, to offer help and support with regard to them making a further application. Help them to fine-tune their application so that we possibly can support it in the future. To Alison and the team at Jigsaw, thank you for the work you do in Mansfield West. You can be assured of my continued support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Henshaw. Councillor Girling, work being undertaken by community groups in your division.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman, and I'm sure you and John are going to have a great year representing this council. Newark is a picturesque market town in the east of the county. It has a rich history, having King John die at Newark Castle and the town being under siege 3 times, the last ending in 1646, and was undefeated. That Cromwell bloke didn't get in. Newark is a strategically significant town with the River Trent running through it, 2 train stations and 3 major arterial routes, the A1, A46 and A17. It also has a strong military history with Bomber Command airfields and the site where the world-famous Bailey Bridge was designed and built. But that's not all, Chairman. We could also say it's a really good holiday destination and a lot cheaper than Dubai. But that's not all, Chairman. The people's charities, charities and organisations are the lifeblood of the town and its thriving community. One such charity is Reach, who are based in Hornville Community Centre. They have centres elsewhere in the county, but this one is in my division. And I wanted to highlight the excellent work that they do in my community. Reach offers a wide range of courses and activities for people with learning disabilities and give them the chance to learn, have fun and live well. At the centre they offer cookery courses, drama, music and singing sessions, arts and craft activities, sports and fitness, moving forward, bowling and much more, including an allotment where they learn to grow flowers and vegetables. This is a brilliant organisation, and I was fortunate enough to be able to help them get a porter cabin for the allotment so that they can continue to teach despite the weather. I was also blessed to attend their talent show, which they performed in front of friends and family. This was a moving experience. You could see the pride glowing from the parents and the students alike. Chairman, I think it's only right and proper that as councillors, we acknowledge the contributions such organisations provide to our communities, and I'd like to thank them for all they do. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Totally agree, because I know a little bit about Reach as well, and they are a marvellous organisation. Thank you. 11A, presentation of petitions. There are no petitions for this meeting. 11B, response to petitions presented to the Chairman of the County Council. I move that the contents of the report and the actions approved be noted. Is that agreed? Please show. All those in favour? I think that's unanimous. Thank you. Update on change to council governance arrangements. I'd like to call upon Councillor Philip Owen, who will move the recommendations in this report.
Thank you, Chairman, and can I congratulate you and the Vice Chairman on your appointments. Back by popular demand, the Constitution. At the last County Council meeting, I did promise you regular updates on the Constitution, and like all good politicians, I'm fulfilling my promises. And you have this update in front of you this morning. There are just one or two points that I would highlight. One of the consequences of moving to a scrutiny system is that we require a scrutiny officer to take charge of the administration. That appointment process is ongoing at the moment, but in the interim period, we do need someone to act up in that capacity. And Keith Ford has volunteered to act up as the interim temporary scrutiny officer. Now, what's in a name, you might say? Well, quite a lot, because you will note from the report that we are renaming what were intended to be cabinet support officers. As a result of representations made to the working group, cabinet support members felt that the name didn't truly reflect their importance, significance and role. So we've agreed, well, I hope you will agree, that they should be renamed as deputy cabinet members. You will see also that the IRP have made conclusions about the new structure, but I won't say anything about that because Councillor Barnfather is going to give a very erudite and complex report later on in this agenda, so I will leave that to him and to deal with any questions on that. But consequential upon the move, we have to amend certain policies. One you have in front of you as an appendix on the yellow pages, the employment procedure rules. Another one is the code of conduct, which is modified only very slightly in terms of references to committee chairmen and now cabinet members. We will be bringing forward a significantly revised code of conduct later on in the year as a further update when the governance working party have had time to look at it. So this is just a holding exercise as far as that is concerned, and you can look forward to a much more detailed presentation later on in the year, and you will have to contain yourselves until then. On that note, I will move the three recommendations set out on pages 72 and 73 of the Council agenda, and hope that you will support them unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I call upon Councillor Chris Barnfather, who will second the motion.
Formally second the motion and reserve the right to speak, Chairman. Thank you.
Any members like to speak on this? No. Councillor Barnfather, would you like? No. Councillor Owen, would you like to say any more?
Oh, I'd love to, but I'll forget it.
I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimous. Thank you very much. Agenda item 13, establishment of committees. I'd like to call upon Councillor Chris Barnfather, who will move the recommendations in the report.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just find the right page. I expected the last debate to last a little longer. We have before us a report which identifies the new committee structure requirements and how they have been apportioned in relation to the administration and other members. And this is done on the basis of proportionality and the legal requirements of Section 15 of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989. The report itself is self-explanatory. It, of course, includes appendices which reflect outside bodies, including the Fire Authority. And I'm happy to move the recommendations contained within the paper. I won't read them all out, Chairman. They are self-explanatory. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. Call upon Councillor Bruce Lawton, who will second the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion and reserve my right to speak. Thank you.
Any members wish to speak? Councillor Lawton, would you like to? Councillor Barnfather, would like to? Put it motion to the vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. The report that is before Council today, as at page 91 of the bundle, is not actually a report, of course, of the administration. It is a report of the Independent Remuneration Panel, and it merely falls to me to present it to Council today. I would like to thank colleagues from across the Chamber who I know, Councillor Zadrozny, I believe, Councillor Deakin, Councillor Pringle, Councillor Foles certainly. I'm aware of attended meetings of the Independent Remuneration Panel and made representations on behalf of their own groups. I know that that offer was also extended to Councillor Garner, who I think was quite happy with the recommendations that were being considered. The panel were extremely thorough. I certainly spent some time in front of them. It reminded me of being in the box before the Crown Court and being cross-examined. They certainly didn't leave any stone unturned. They had their own very strong views and certainly explored them all, and I'm sure colleagues went through the same experience. I'm delighted to say that the panel were happy to make the recommendations as contained within this paper, which I think were relatively broadly in line with the thoughts of the monitoring officer and the chief legal officer. So I formally move the recommendations contained within the paper before you, and again I'm more than happy to take any questions, but with that caveat that this is not a report of the administration, it is a report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Barnfather. I call upon Councillor Mike Pringle, who will second the motion.
Thanks, Chairman. I second the motion and reserve my right.
Thank you. Any members wish to comment? Councillor Carr.
Just very briefly, thank you, Chair. Congratulations on your appointment. And page 99, paragraph 21, just a bit of clarification here. The final sentence, which says the current allowance is £15,277.76, and the panel recommends that this remain unchanged, other than to capture any further index-linked increases as and when appropriate. I don't think we have ever had an index-linked increase. I think we have always in this council, if our staff are paid an increase, then that is the increase we had. I don't think we've ever had an index-linked increase. Is this a change of policy, or is it as we were before?
Your officer is going to answer that question.
So if you actually read the recommendations beneath it, Councillor Carr, it's to remain linked to the staff pay award. So it's just that's what it's reflecting. So it's no change in policy.
Other members wish to speak? Councillor Pringle, do you wish to? Councillor Barnfather? Put the motion to members. All those in favour? I think that's unanimous. Thank you. Questions to Nottinghamshire City and Nottinghamshire Fire Authority? None have been received. 15B. Questions to committee chairman. As set out in the Constitution, a maximum of 60 minutes is allowed for questions to committee chairman, after which any remaining questions will receive a written response. I would like to remind members that following the change in the Constitution, there will only be one supplementary question, which must be from the member who asked the original question. The supplementary question should be on the same matter and should be in the form of a question, not a statement. There will be no adjournment debates. There are 9 questions as follows, and I call upon Councillor Lee Waters about implementations of highway review recommendations. Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Chairman, and may I congratulate you on your appointment, and I wish you all the best for the forthcoming year. I'd like to thank as well the outgoing Chairman as well. It has now been over several months since the publication of the Highways Review, done after years of abject failure by the Conservative-led County Council. Would the Chairman tell us what recommendations have actually been implemented on the ground by district and borough? Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, if someone is looking for positive action, this probably isn't a good idea to use misleading and somewhat derogatory phraseology in questions like abject failure. It is in fact less than 6 months. It's 17th of November to be precise, last year, since the Transport and Environment Committee agreed nearly 50 improvement outcomes from the cross-party Highways Review Panel, Chairman. And that agreement was unanimous, Chairman. I can't recall, have I mentioned that in previous meetings? It was unanimous, Mr. Chairman, the recommendations. Members duly asked the Policy Committee to develop a highways improvement plan to deliver those recommendations, and that plan was approved in February this year, 3 months ago. Of course, unanimously, Mr. Chairman. Forgive my growing cynicism, but it is obvious that when certain Alliance members ask questions like this, they're not interested in the facts or the answer, they're simply creating a vehicle for false sound bites to court media attention and undermine the positive things that this council is working to achieve. There are, however, many positive and constructive members in this chamber, including many opposition members, and for their benefit, I'm happy to set out some of the progress so far, which is far removed from abject failure, which has been implied. For the first time, we have established a 3-year capital programme to support long-term planning, schedule and delivery, with an additional emphasis on unclassified roads and footways and drainage works. The programme is now live and is being delivered across the county. We've undertaken a detailed review of the division of responsibility between the council and VIA in key areas, including highways policy and strategy, highways core asset management and works provision, and major capital programme management. We've delivered operational improvements. A new operational hub has been established by VIA to better coordinate maintenance works and ensure a whole street approach. And additional training for VIA staff has been delivered to strengthen the focus on customer care, work quality and performance. And we've invested £12 million of new funding over the next 4 years in doubling the number of repair gangs across the county to help us move to a right repair, right first time approach that delivers permanent repairs whenever possible on roads most affected by repeat visit pothole repairs. The new gangs have already started work, Mr. Chairman, and will be up to full capacity by the summer, doubling that previous capacity. Lest we forget, Chairman, Councillor Waters voted against this extra investment at the Budget Council, so it's a bit of a nerve asking this sort of question now. Transport and Environment Committee has received regular updates on progress towards implementing the Highways Review recommendations across the county, and our cross-party Highways Review panel will continue to meet to monitor and receive updates, as well as being tasked with reviewing road safety, including the 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, following the motion agreed on the 20th of January full council. There is, of course, much more work being delivered. The changes underway will naturally take some time to fully implement, but good progress is being made and has been made, and I and senior officers have recently visited both Councillor Martin and Councillor Wilmot in their divisions to discuss specific matters and the improvements we are making. If Councillor Waters is willing to engage more positively, I'm sure that I'll be happy to visit his division as and when. Finally, Mr. Chairman, a bit of tongue-in-cheek. I do notice this is momentous because Councillor Wilmot has not asked a question about roads this particular meeting. Maybe he has actually named all the roads in Hucknall, or at least in Ashfield, and there are no more roads left to name, so that is momentous. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Councillor Waters, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just as a clarification, I actually voted to double the funding. I do note on your response, you didn't actually give a list of improvement by district and borough, which is what I actually asked, but okay. In asking this question, I asked our researchers to go through their comprehensive notes they produce for meetings. They asked for the Highways Review on 44 different occasions on the Old Communities and Place Committee, and a further 17 times in full council meetings. That's why we welcome the review. So again, I would like to congratulate the independent councillors for pushing this. So thank you. The result of the Highways Review that were published 7 months ago, Mr. Chairman, we are yet to see improvements on the ground. Most of my busy post bag is full of complaints, and it's about the state of our highways. When will this council start delivering tangible change to what the chairman admits is the biggest threat to the council's reputation? Does the chairman think that 1 million less identifiable spend on highways maintenance programme for this year in places like Ashfield, Broxtowe and Mansfield is a good start?
Thank you. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, it's nice to have a bit of humour in these supplementary questions, that's for sure, Chairman. perhaps I ought to point out to Councillor Waters, because no doubt he seems to have forgotten, but I do recall previous questions about Brookside in Hucknall. Brookside in Hucknall, Mr Chairman, which Councillor Waters asked about, and that has been repaired with new patching repairs. So that is one repair immediately for us to talk about, not to mention all the rest. So what I would also urge him to recognise is that, as we have said before, the question about borough district, it is equally invested across the county, Mr Chairman. Where the road repairs are required, we are repairing as many roads as we possibly can. As I said in previous meetings, we can't repair all the roads immediately, but that new improved progress has started, and the roads in Nottinghamshire will continue to be improved.
Well said.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. Question 2 from Councillor Mike Pringle concerning review of financial interests or investments in the Russian economy.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, just for members to know, this is not a political question. This is a question of emotion, and one which follows the united decisions that we made previously at Council. Chairman, given, Councillor Jackson, given the ongoing war in the Ukraine, will you, in an act of full transparency and solidarity with the Ukrainian people, instruct the appropriate council officers to assess whether this council currently have any financial interests, such as the contracts or investments which could be of direct benefit to the Russian economy, and publish the findings as a matter of urgency?
Councillor Richard Jackson to reply.
Yes, thank you, Chairman, and can I congratulate you on your appointment, and on a personal note, thank the pair of you actually for your hard work and support to me over the last 5 years as Vice Chairman to me and the Finance Committee. I've enjoyed working with you both, and I'll enjoy your time as Chairman, I'm sure. Can I thank Councillor Pringle for his question? Council officers, Mike, have assessed whether the Council has any financial interests, contracts or investments which could be of direct benefit to the Russian economy. And I can confirm that we have no direct contracts with any Russian organisations or indeed Belarusian organisations. The one contract that could have had an indirect benefit to the Russian economy is one that we have with High Park Industries, which provide wood pellets fuel biomass boilers maintained by the council. High Park Industries buy supplies from a Scandinavian company, which in turn used to buy from a Russian supplier. They have confirmed to us that they have now changed their supplier, so there is no longer any direct connection with Russia in that chain. Prices, Chairman, have increased as a consequence of this change, but this will not affect us until next winter because the provider already had enough wood pellets in stock to meet our demands until then. I appreciate the spirit and the point of Councillor Pringle's question. Nottingham Council is in solidarity with the Ukrainian people. We do not wish to be involved in any transactions that could be interpreted as supporting the Russian invasion of Ukraine. I think it is also important to emphasise that our opposition to the actions of those governing Russia and not to the Russian people, most of whom have no control or support for the decisions and the actions of Vladimir Putin. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Pringle, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Councillor Jackson, and thank you for clarifying the position of the County Council. Reference to Veolia was made nationally in the papers with their involvement, continue to invest in Russia. That is something that was a major concern of mine, and certainly is a major concern of all of us, if that's the case. So I would like you just to clarify that for us at some point. But again, you know, in following on from the ministers at Westminster, Michael Gove, and following on from the Ukrainian and Belarus investment, I think the statement that you made that we don't have any, other than me wanting clarification on the Veolia thing, is something that we should be proud of. And you know, I congratulate you for following that up. I look forward to the Veolia answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pringle. Councillor Jackson, reply.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. I mean, I can't speak for Veolia. I don't know the details of any involvement they may have in Russia. I'd be surprised, to be honest. I think we would be disappointed and concerned at that, and I'm sure we can seek to have discussions with them and to clarify that position. But I'll go back to what I said. We have no direct involvement at all in the Russian economy.
Thank you. Question 3 from Councillor Tom Hollis concerning review of policy on buying properties for use as children's homes. Councillor Hollis.
Thank you, Chairman. And just before I ask my question, just congratulations on your appointment to be Chairman. It is nice to see a rural councillor appointed to the Chairman, the same with Councillor Ogle. I am told my suits resemble young Councillor Jackson, which I'm known in the independent group as. So I hope that that means you'll see my hand first when I put my hand up. But also, just before I end on that subject, I want to join Councillors Drosny and Councillor Martin in thanking Councillor Quigley and Mrs Quigley for coming to Ashfield, particularly in some of the civic events, which I know you've got a great relationship with our chairman, Councillor Hankin. But we've certainly had some really great times, particularly in the last charity event, which I think Councillor Quigley joined me in my embarrassment when we were all having a nice meal, and suddenly we both looked to our left, and there was my partner and Mrs Quigley both dancing alone together on the dance floor. But I think it was a bit of a dance-off, to be honest, which might be a good idea for a good charity event going forward, Mr Chairman, but we can keep that one up our sleeve. But just to turn to my question, to read it as printed, would the Children of the Young People's Department agree to do a full review of Nottinghamshire County Council's policy of buying residential properties for use as children's homes? Do you have confidence in Homes to Inspire's ability to keep our most vulnerable young people safe? Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Councillor Tracy Taylor to reply.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Hollis, for your question. Nottinghamshire County Council is required to make provision for residential children's homes for some of the children in our care. The specification for children's homes, supported by the expectations from Ofsted as a regulator, are for homely settings based in domestic homes as close as possible to children's family, friends and local community. It's therefore necessary for the council to buy suitable properties for its own long-term use, and to its financial advantage to provide properties to not-for-profit providers who would struggle to obtain finance at the same rates that the local authority achieves. This also means that the local authority can use its information to position the homes where they are needed and can choose, if necessary, change the provider running a home without disrupting children's placements or having to find further properties. Homes to Inspire have a block contract to provide a number of homes on behalf of the local authority. Their homes, including those in Nottinghamshire, are regularly inspected and rated highly by Ofsted. They are also reviewed regularly by our own children's commissioning team using our quality assessment framework. They are the preferred provider for a large number of local authorities throughout England. They work with some children who have very complex care plans and where their health needs and behaviours are extremely challenging. Our assessment is that they do this as well, if not better, than any other provider in the market. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Hollis, you have a supplementary?
Yes, please. So, thank you for your answer, Councillor Taylor. Now, I know this council won't want me to mention the location of the recently opened children's home within Ashfield. You spent thousands of pounds on an expensive lawyer to serve an injunction on a local democracy service based at Notts TV, restricting the press on reporting the issues at the new children's home based in Ashfield District. We repeatedly raised concerns about the location of this home, the lack of infrastructure and our worries about the safety of our most vulnerable children. Everything we warned about would happen has sadly happened. Since the home opened, there have been repeated incidents that have caused the residents of the Whitegates Estate, Huthwaite, huge worry about the safety of the residents. Despite the issues raised in my view, and the mismanagement of the children's home in Ashfield, will this council agree to stop the future plans to do this again and stop the children's home on Savile Road in Skegby? And what And what is more important to you, protecting the reputation of this council or protecting the most vulnerable children? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hollis. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm just going to read part of my original answer before I move on to that, because clearly some of it passed you by, Councillor Hollis. It is therefore necessary for the council to buy suitable properties for its own long-term use. The specification for the homes is homely settings based in domestic homes as close as possible to children's family, friends and local community. Now, I know from questions that you have asked or colleagues have asked at committee as well as in full council that you are unhappy about specific purchases that this council has made. My first priority is not your unhappiness, Councillor Hollis. It is the welfare of the children and young people that this county looks after. I don't accept your conclusion that the reputation of this council and the welfare of children are mutually exclusive. This is not a binary conversation, and I do expect that we will continue to provide the best care for children in the way that we are doing at present.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. We move on to question 4 from Councillor Kate Foyle regarding East Midlands Combined Authority Executive Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman. Does the leader consider that the oversight of an East Midlands Development Corporation and East Midlands Freeport under the oversight of an East Midlands Combined Authority Executive Mayor will consolidate too much decision-making powers in the hands of one person? Thank you.
Councillor Ben Bradley MP to reply.
Thanks, Councillor Folt. I understand the premise of the question. I think it's probably based on perhaps an understandable lack of information, because we're only starting to just now have this conversation in a more public domain about governance, about how a combined authority will be managed as we go forward over the course of this year. I don't think it's right to suggest that a mayor would have direct power over all of these things in the way that the question seems to indicate. The Freeport is a separate entity, the Development Corporation is a separate entity. I would like personally to see those things consolidated into a structure where we can work more collaboratively together. How that looks is a matter of negotiation between all of the authorities, including districts and boroughs across Derbyshire and Nottinghamshire, and we'll come to that in due course. But the Freeport obviously sits over a different geography. It is run by a board with an independent chairman. It would not be run by a mayor or combined authority. The Development Corporation could be folded into a combined authority, but again, as an independent board, has independent leadership within it. There are various options for that will be considered over the coming months. So I think it's also worth pointing out that in any combined authority structure, the mayor will have very few areas where he or she is able to just directly make a decision in conflict with the wishes of the local authorities within it. There is a cabinet made up of, at the very least, upper tiers. Districts and boroughs will likely be involved in many areas of decision-making directly. I spoke to Andy Street this week, who informs me that over the entire course of the West Midlands Combined Authority, no financial decisions have been taken that weren't unanimous in the 6 or 7 years of that authority. So I think it's fair to say that there will be significant checks and balances on the power that you talk about. There will be nothing that is taken from local authorities as they exist now and given up to a mayor. In fact, it's bringing things in the other direction. So I hope that clarifies that we'll have significant checks and balances on all of that, and all of that will be a matter of negotiation, including with some of those district and borough leaders in the room over the coming months.
Thank you. Councillor Bradley. Councillor Ford, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do. Thank you for that, Bennett. It's when you use words like consolidated into one structure, I get a bit concerned. Not necessarily because it's a bad thing to do, but I'd really would like to understand the governance of that to make sure that real people actually get a say in what's going on. And of course, council leaders that are delivering the services and know their communities so well. So just to take you back kind of to the specific devolution issue here. In a letter to Gedlingborough Council in December 21, the leader stated there'd be no top-down reorganisation by government in any devolution deal. And then 7 weeks after that letter was sent, government published its Levelling Up white paper, which I think was certainly a surprise to us. And it's set out, under the illusion of choice, a set of criteria so inflexible and so uncompromisingly, get the word out properly, sorry, in favour of a mayor-led combined authorities, that is a top-down choice, non-choice, imposed by Westminster, which stopped any genuine room for local devolution on local terms. You know, we'll give you the money, but you need to do what I say. That seemed to be the message. And with no seats as of right in the decision-making table for district and borough council. So my supplementary question is, are you as leader, Ben, disappointed that he and others were misled by the government into giving others such a false impression of the levelling up agenda and what it might mean, and their eventual top-down approach to devolution? This is not local bottom-up devolution. This is clearly top-down, led from Westminster. And will he guarantee to give real decision-making powers here today to our district and borough councillors, especially when decisions affect their residents and their businesses?
Thanks, Kate. If I'm honest, and again, it's understandable because I know, obviously, as an opposition leader here, rather than a leader of a district and borough, you've not been directly involved in the conversations. But I think the question that you've asked there comes from probably where we were 4 or 5 months ago in terms of the political conversation. We've made a lot of progress on what all of this means. I don't recognise what you said about the Levelling Up White Paper. I think the White Paper and our subsequent conversations together, collaboratively across the area and with ministers, have made clear that government clearly needs to lay out what the contract between our area and the government looks like. But when it comes to how we manage that locally, who's involved, who has a say, who votes, what the governance is like, they are quite happy for us to decide that for ourselves. And that's been made quite clear to us. That presents its own challenges, of course, because we've got to get everybody to agree on what that looks like. And that's the test over the coming months. But in all of those conversations, both myself, David Mellon in the city, have made very clear that we want districts and boroughs actively involved in those conversations. There are areas within all of that where districts and boroughs will need to have a say because we cannot exercise functions like housing or planning without district and borough involvement. David and I hope I'm not speaking out of turn for him, but I think we agree that needs to be direct decision-making over planning and housing in particular, because I don't think it would be right for Gedling, for example, to try and represent Ashfield on a planning matter. I don't think that's feasible, or the other way around. So there will have to be that direct engagement, and that's the case that certainly within Nottinghamshire we are making, talking to our Derby and Derbyshire partners about that. I think we've been very clear that we see a role for everybody in this, and I don't think it is structural reform in any way, quite the opposite. I think actually, as I've sought to explain, and we need to now seek to explain more publicly more over the summer, you know, this isn't a structural reorganisation of councils at all. There are no powers within this that are taken from districts or boroughs or counties or cities up to a combined authority. People will continue to deliver the functions that they deliver. The role of the combined authority is for strategic planning, effectively, to try and bring all of that together under a wider plan so it is coherent and it is strategic in what we deliver. Take, for example, bits of funding that are offered to county or district level authorities. If we have worked together and talked together and planned our infrastructure or our projects across the area, then we can ensure that all that money is best used by those individual and autonomous stakeholders in a way that fits with the wider strategy, rather than people all going off on small projects that might and sometimes are in conflict with the wider picture and area, vision for the area. So it's about pulling things together, everybody having a say in that planning, and the mayor's role is then to facilitate, to fund things that meet that strategic plan, and to utilise powers that come down from government, not up from councils, to support the plan that is put together by all of those existing stakeholders across district, boroughs, county and city councillors, and our universities and other partners who are drawn into that. If there's a restructuring element to that, it's the bit that we're now considering with those partners, which is the bit that already sits on a regional level. And this is why I continue to say that this isn't a new layer. This is making sense of or bringing an existing layer into something more coherent, where we have bodies like LEPs and skills boards and business groups and chambers and all the rest of it that exist in a very disparate and kind of unfathomable structure at the minute, many of whom aren't bought into a central strategy, many of whom don't have the levers that they need to deliver on any strategy that they may have, and we can pull all of that together in a more coherent way to work more directly with councils so that we're all on the same page. And if there's any reorganisation, it's that element of it. Again, that is subject to negotiation, both with councils and with government. It's subject to many conversations that we will have, no doubt, with Councillor Clark, Councillor Drosny, and other district and borough leaders over the coming months to find something that we're all at least relatively happy with. But there's no sense of anybody being able to ride roughshod over that process, or either locally or in government being able to dictate to us what that looks like. That's a matter for us.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Question 5 from Councillor Helen Ann Smith regarding what services will be provided at Topwick Hay Farm.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, and firstly congratulations to yourself and Councillor Ogle on your appointments today. Can the Chair of the Economic Development and Asset Management Committee please give this Council an update on the new Council offices at Topwick Hay Farm in Limby? What services will be moved there, and what discussions the Council have had with departments and trade unions about moving staff? Further to this, are there any plans to move Council meetings, and including relocating this Council chamber? Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Councillor Gurley to reply.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'd like to thank Councillor Smith for your question. Before I answer the question directly, let me give a bit of background. On the 2nd of November 2021, my Economic Development and Asset Management Committee, EDAM, approved a report on the Investing in Nottinghamshire programme, which set out the future directions of the programme following a review by members. In that meeting, I asked members to consider changes to the scope of the programme in light of the Council's approval of the hybrid working policy. The report prioritised 4 building projects that included the provision of a new build office at Topwick Hay, and these were all approved to proceed. A planning application for the new office and enabling works for the wider development has been submitted and is due to be considered at Planning Committee in July. The services identified to be based at Topwick Hay office development are as follows: the Customer Service Centre, the Multi-Agency Safeguarding Hub, the Schools and Family Support Services, the Adult Access Service, the Integrated Community Loan Service, and the Business Service Centre. But there is one thing I can tell you definitely won't be there, Chairman. Despite what you may have read in the Hucknall Dispatch or heard from local councillors, and what I can categorically tell you is Hucknall Library will not be based in the development at Topwick Hay. Hucknall Library will not be based in the Topwick Hay development. I can confirm that all impacted staff have been kept up to date throughout the approval process, and I've been advised of all the likely timescales. The trade unions have also been kept up to date around the development and were last briefed at a meeting of the Central Joint Consultative Negotiating Panel on the 11th of November 2021. There are currently no firm plans to move council meetings, including locating the council chamber to Topwick Hay Farm. All of our buildings, however, we will build with the principle of having flexible spaces that will be able to accommodate a variety of uses should there be a requirement in the future. The report of the EDAM committee recognised, however, that this wasn't the end of the review into the programme. With the implementation of our hybrid working policy, I have asked officers in the County Council's property team to continue to review occupancy in our buildings and to assess whether there are additional benefits that can be derived from the estate. As outlined in the November 2021 report, provision has been made in the Invest in Nottingham programme for contingency funding to support feasibility and legal work where there is a case. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Councillor Smith, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Girling, for your response on that. As we're talking about the services that Topwick Hay, I saw a video that you did on one of the Hucknall pages where you said that staff that are currently based here will be moved to the Topwick Hay site. So that's where the question came from about the council chamber, because I just assumed we were closing this entire building. So in that case, Councillor Girling, what's your intentions for this building and other buildings where the current services are being run from at the moment? What are we going to be doing with those moving forward? Thank you.
Councillor Girling.
Yeah, thanks for your supplementary, Councillor Smith. I think I've answered that in my first answer, actually, by saying that all of our buildings, we look at how they're used, how they can best be utilised, and any future builds that we make, they'll be as flexible as possible. Yes, I did say that in a video outside Hucknall Library when I had to go there to say that it wasn't moving despite allegations. I get carried away sometimes, and I think it's a really exciting prospect, Top Wiggy, and what we're going to be doing there. And the fact that we're looking at all aspects of this council and how it operates, yeah, nothing's off the table, but we'll go through the proper process to make sure that if we do move any services to there, there's a proper reason for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Girling. Question 6 from Councillor Maggie McGarth about policy to allocate the local communities fund.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations, you two gentlemen, on your appointment to what you're doing. Thank you very much. Right, just a question to Councillor Cotty, please. Can the Chairman confirm whether the Council's policies relevant to the allocation of the local communities fund are at the discretion of this Council? Would allow for funding to be reprioritised towards alternative community activity, not specified within the successful bid, but equally eligible in meeting the criteria of the fund? Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Cotty.
Thank you, Chairman, and I wish you and your Vice Chairman a very enjoyable year, and I hope to bump into you in certain places. Best of luck. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Chairman, I must be straightforward and say the short answer, Councillor, is no. But the Local Communities Fund is a member-led scheme, and therefore all awards must be approved through the relevant committee or cabinet member. To reach that point, applications are carefully considered to examine how closely the proposed activity meets the Council's priorities. Applications are also checked to ensure that appropriate governance measures are in place and sufficient match funding has been secured to make the project viable. Where the number of applications received exceeds the amount of funding available, the relevant, it's easy for me to say, decision-making councillors must make choices about which applications should be funded or which should not. For those applications that are approved for funding, binding agreements between the council and the applicant are prepared and signed, and thereafter the project is monitored to ensure that the funding is being managed and spent in line with what has been agreed. It follows that if an organisation does not spend its funding in the way it originally agreed to do, the council must ask for the returning of that funding. We owe it to all applicants in Nottinghamshire, as our taxpayers, to apply these rules fairly but firmly. However, Chairman, when an application is unsuccessful, we would of course encourage a new, fresh application to the appropriate element of the Local Communities Fund if the applicant has reached a position where they are better able to meet the criteria, and assuming the Local Community Fund is open to applications at that time. As I stated previously in a written reply, which is in these papers, the council papers at the back, the white papers at the back, the Local Community Fund application is unsuccessful. Our officers are always ready to continue discussions with the applicant to identify possible alternative streams of funding, be that from this council or elsewhere, and to help them understand why an application was turned down, with a view to ensuring that future applications have a better chance of success. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Councillor McGrath, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Chair, thank you. thank you, John. Yes, I did get your written response, and thank you very much for that, because I had COVID at the time. But I just wondered if yourself and the officers, along with Councillor Doddy, that also represents my area, would like to meet the people of the Helpful Bureau and explain it, because they're still having difficulty, because certain things, objectives have moved, obviously, because they do cover the whole of the borough, or the whole of Broxtowe, and it's not just Stapleford, it's actually Chilwell, Branker, and they do quite a lot of work which involves transport. So I'd appreciate if yourself and some officers, along with me and John, could find the time to meet and sit down with the ladies at the Helpful Bureau and just go through basically where they went wrong. They appreciate what you have done, but they're concerned now that they want to move certain aspects of the grant to help them in other areas. So I'd appreciate that, please, John. Thank you.
Scotty. Yeah, thank you for that. Yes, I'm happy to. We are oversubscribed on everything that comes in at the end of the day. There's double the amount of applications for the amount of funding. And we have confirmed 3 of their applications, which total £120,000. And obviously we've reflected on the applications to every one separately. But I'm happy to meet you. I don't want to turn organisations away. If we can help going forward in a different direction, I'm quite happy to do that. But in the report at the back of my first report, it does say that go back to the officers, but if I'm happy to be part of that if I'm required to. I can't promise anything at the end of the day, but I'm happy to meet all. Okay.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Question 7 from Councillor Michelle Welsh regarding the Family Hub Network.
Thank you, Chairman. As Nottinghamshire will not be one of the 75 local authorities successful in receiving a proportion of the government's £302 million fund for family hubs and Start for Life programme announced on the 2nd of April 2022, can the Chairman update the Council on how the government's decision will impact the 36 services and interventions expected to be delivered by the Family Hub network?
Councillor Taylor to respond, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Welsh, for your question. You're correct that Nottinghamshire will not be receiving the Family Hubs and Start for Life funding because our local authority did not qualify. Originally, the funding was going to be distributed through a bidding process, but the government instead opted to target the funding according to deprivation criteria, and Nottinghamshire County was not identified as one of the council areas in most need. The Family Hubs and Start for Life Fund focuses on elements of the Best Start for Life programme, including breastfeeding support, parenting programmes, parent-infant mental health support and home learning environments. All of these areas are already priorities for the Best Start Partnership, which is a subgroup of the Health and Wellbeing Board. There is no statutory guidance on family hubs, but as I indicated in the council budget debate a couple of months ago, we are confident that over the coming year we'll be able to work with partners to establish family hub networks with the required services and interventions to support our local communities. Nottinghamshire County Council has retained strong children's centre and youth services and has a family service delivering a range of interventions which we will be able to shape, along with health, voluntary sector, schools and other services, into the networks that will deliver for local communities in line with the government's ambition. A funding bid has been submitted to DFE in December for the Family Hub Transformation Fund, and we are expecting an announcement in May. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. Councillor Walsh, do you have a supplementary?
Chairman, will the Chairman agree that children have been adversely affected during the pandemic, including those in early years, which is why the importance of family hubs and Start for Life programme are so important? And does she agree with me that any delay to funding from government is not helpful for families who rely on these services? Will the Chairman therefore commit to assessing the impact of any delay in funding on families who won't receive services, should that be the case, and report the findings to this Council so the Government can be informed of the impact this method of funding rounds is having on those who get left behind, as we have been on this occasion?
Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not altogether sure I can, well, I certainly can't answer the question in the way that Councillor Welsh would want me to. I need to, again, as I did with Councillor Hollis, I need to kind of reprise part of what I said. This isn't a delay in funding, as your question said and as my answer concurred. We were not one of the 75 authorities in that particular bidding round. Therefore, we were not intended or were not expecting to receive funding. That's not a delay. So forgive me if it's semantics over the language, but I'm struggling to actually answer your question directly. Chairman, is it appropriate to seek clarification?
I would think so, yes, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, just for clarification, with regards to delay, it's a delay to any children and young people that need those services post-pandemic is what I'm saying. So the fact that we're not one of those 75 local authorities would suggest to me there's still that need. There's still that need within Nottinghamshire. There are still communities that require that funding. Therefore, that's what I mean with regards to delay.
Thank you, Chairman. So again, I'll go back to my original answer. We were not one of the 75 local authorities successful because the criteria that government applied said that we were not one of those most in need. And I'll also go back to that first answer and say that the family hubs and the children's centre work that we have already in play or in plan are already delivering the services either directly through this council or through the partnership working with those partners that I listed in my first answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Taylor. We move on to question 8 from Councillor Jason Srodny concerning library services.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Has Nottinghamshire County Council made any approaches to any organisations to discuss the relocation of any library services from their current locations? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cotty to reply.
Thank you, Councillor Zorosny, for the question. Nottinghamshire County Council holds discussions with various parties across the county about ways of improving accessibility to the range of services provided by Inspire. We continue to seek ways of ensuring our communities can access a range of complementary services in one location where it is appropriate. Sometimes we're approached by other organisations wishing to initiate such discussions, and sometimes we initiate discussions ourselves together with other partners. As I stated in my budget presentation in February, this Conservative administration will protect and maintain Nottinghamshire's network of libraries. Nobody who has access to a library within a reasonable distance of where they live now will cease to have that access I can't even read my own writing, sorry. Who now has access to a library within a reasonable distance of where they live thank you. You know what I'm saying. Yeah, we'll not cease to have access to for the next 4 years or beyond if we continue as the administration. Almost in all cases, these libraries will remain in their current buildings, but of course we are happy to explore with any potential partners co-location or relocation of services if this can provide an even more cost-effective or customer-focused way of delivering our already excellent library service. And we have our duty to our customers and our taxpayers to do so. Any such discussions that developed into a firm proposal would then see that proposal submitted to a full consultation with the library customers and of course the relevant divisional county councillors or councillors. However, Chairman, as I've said on several occasions now, we will not reduce the number of libraries we provide, and we have no plans to relocate key town central libraries into alternative locations. For example, I'll state there are no plans or discussions to relocate Hucknall Library. The truth is that at a time when many local authorities are reducing their library services, Nottinghamshire County Council is committed to maintaining and, where possible, improving our library network, and we should be proud of that position. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. Councillor Zrodny, do you have a supplementary?
I do, thank you, Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it's regret that I do have concrete evidence that discussions have been taking place between the County Council and health bosses of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire Clinical Commissioning Group, going back as far as the 2nd of November 2021, to move library services to the new Super Cavell Health Centre proposed for Hucknall, and the minutes of the last meeting of November clearly state this. Mr. Chairman, the minutes also say on page 3 that the county councillor that was kept informed of that decision is Councillor Keith Girling. Mr. Chairman, it goes on further to list the 6 priority services that will be listed at the Cavell Centre: physiotherapy, mental health services, district nursing, children's and young people services, occupational therapy and library services. Mr. Chairman, Keith Girling has known all along that these discussions have been taking place. The minutes, he approved them. I'll happily give them to Councillor Cotty. And yet, Councillor Girling dragged the chairman of the Culture Committee across a tour of Hucknall, Kirkby and Sutton to mislead library staff and users that there were no plans to relocate library services. In light of this information, Councillor Cotty, will you revisit your statement to this chamber and in fact commit to some kind of investigation? Because I think your impeccable reputation has been misled by one of your colleagues, and look at giving us some concrete answers about what will be happening to the future of library services in Hucknall. I will happily, Councillor Cotty, accept that you don't have this information and provide it you, and see if you wish to discuss it outside of the chamber. Thank you.
Councillor Cotty.
Thank you. No, I don't have the information, but then I don't have all information on some of the discussions that take place, because they have to be private and confidential. You know from being a leader of a council that if you want to buy a piece of land, that the moment you announce you're going to buy a piece of land, then it's going to be 3 times the price. I accept what you're saying to me. I don't know of that information. I don't know about that meeting, but I will look into it and find out. There may well be a very good reason why I haven't been told, but I don't know that. I'll look into it. I have the greatest trust in Councillor Girling, and it wasn't his suggestion to go to those libraries to talk to them, it was mine. And I always think that we should be really honest with our staff, and I think that we do that, but I will look into that.
Thank you, Councillor Cotty. We now come to the last question, question 9. Councillor Jim Creamer about Bus Back Better strategy.
Thank you, Chairman. May I congratulate you on the Chairman of this Council. I hope you have a pleasant year and an active year, and to the Vice Chairman as well. Thank you. To the Chairman of the Transport and Environment Committee, does the Chairman agree with the Government's Bus Back Better strategy, which states, where physically possible, there should be significant investment in bus priority, bus lanes at a minimum? Thank you.
Councillor Clark to reply. Sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. So my answer to Councillor Creamer's question is yes, where physically possible and where appropriate. Thank you, Chairman.
Councillor Creamer, do you have a supplementary?
I do, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and very pleased with the answer. Thank you very much for the answer. But just for clarification, there's an old saying, if you're not stuffing traffic, you are part of the traffic jam. I'm sure you'll agree with that. The reason bus lanes look quiet is because they actually work, which is complaints people make about them. They do the job of taking up 70 cars per plus journeys. It seems the fact that odd that with the views of some of your Conservative colleagues, so I'm agreeing with you, by the way, who at the last Transport and Environment Committee expressed disdain for bus lanes and wanted them scrapped in favour of widening the roads, completely at odds with government strategy. So my supplementary question therefore is, does the Chairman support the views of Councillor Owen and Councillor Smith, or the views of the government? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I agree. It was a a very lively discussion in that committee, and perhaps I'll just put a few things in context and mention a few pieces of information in also including that committee discussion. Certainly in the government's bus back strategy, it talks about densely populated areas. I tend to imagine areas such as Nottingham City, but yes, this can also apply to areas around the city, communities such as Beeston, West Bridgford, Hucknall, Arnold, and of course Carlton, which Councillor Creamer represents. In that context, we welcome the Bus Back Better strategy's aim to improve bus services because these are important for connectivity to jobs, training, education, health, shopping, and leisure opportunities, as well as helping manage congestion and tackle climate change. To this end, we have shown our commitment to improve and encourage bus use in Nottinghamshire by submitting an ambitious bus service improvement plan to government to help drive greater bus usage, which, by the way, accounted for 28 million journeys per annum in the county pre-pandemic. Our plan has a balanced blend of proposals, including bus-enabling activities such as bus priority measures, improved and integrated ticketing, and improved bus services to grow patronage, reduce journey time, and increase passenger satisfaction. We're pleased that our bus improvement plan submission is one of only 30 nationwide to have received an indicative funding allocation from government. And for Nottinghamshire, this will mean £30 million of new investment in bus provision across Nottingham and Nottinghamshire in the coming years. Our task now is to discuss this plan further with the DfT so that the investment contains the right mix of capital works and revenue support for bus services, particularly as we recover from COVID. At the recent Transport and Environment Committee, there was, as Councillor Creamer has indicated, a positive exchange of views and a lively exchange of views of many different and mixed opinions, Chairman. And in fact, I did indicate that I didn't necessarily agree with the comments of all colleagues. So that just demonstrates just how robust and varied those discussions can be. And that's only right, because we need to ensure that we discuss all possible opinions. We have a total of 66 county councillors representing divisions with different characteristics and needs, where residents will have different views on the most important transport priorities for their area, be that walking, cycling, buses, trains, cars, or whatever. And that is about discussing what I said in my first answer, Chairman. What is appropriate? This is an important point, Chairman, that amid all the talk of densely populated areas and bus lanes, we must not forget that Nottinghamshire is predominantly a rural county, where in some areas the population is quite sparse. This can make it quite difficult for bus operators to sustain economically viable bus services, and yet there are residents in these areas who still very much need such services. That's why we continue to prioritise rural connectivity, and why we are proud to invest some £4.1 million per year in supporting bus services that might otherwise be at risk. We have the advantage of a council leader who is also a member of Parliament, with direct and fast access to the key decision makers and policy definers in central government, and Councillor Bradley and I signed a joint letter to the Secretary of State for Transport to request a meeting to discuss making the policies more flexible to ensure that priority can be given to providing those primary bus services in the first place. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Clark. That is the end of the questions. We now move on to agenda item 16, notice of motions, and none have been received. So that actually brings us to the end of the business for today. So I thank members and everyone for attending. I hope all council meetings goes as smoothly as quickly as this over the next year. I somehow doubt it, but but anyway, thank you, members. It's lunchtime now, and enjoy your lunch and also the rest of the afternoon. Thank you.